Hey everyone, thanks for joining me here today. My name is StormJewel. I've been reading the tarot for well over 20 years now. In fact, I think it's getting to 27 years. And I'm really happy to share with you my first ever video. So I've prepared 3 different piles for you, each represented by a different shell. I live on a tropical island, and these shells I've picked because they're just so beautiful and unique. Here, pile 1, we have this really unusual black shell with a little bit of white, and that represents pile 1. Here we have this spiral shell for pile 2, beautiful as you can see. And finally we have this white shell. It's kind of like a flower. Look at these layers going down there, so beautiful. And here you can see some wild cut amethyst, which just so happens to be my birthstone. So I'd like you to take a little moment, focus in with your intuition, take a deep breath with me now. And ask yourself, which of these piles do you feel drawn to? These cards are going to tell you what you really need to know right now. They're going to describe a bit about the energy that you're going through at the moment, or that you're entering into, a bit about what's actually going to happen, and then some advice for you from Spirit so that you can really make the most of this time and make the most of your life. So take the chance now to pick pile 1, 2 or 3, and then you can look below in the comments and I'll make a timestamp so that you can get directly to the pile that you chose. If you'd like to know more about me, you can find out all about me on my website, which I will link to below. Thanks for tuning in. I really do hope that these readings will be helpful for you, and I really did enjoy doing them. Bright blessings. Okay, so one more thing while you might still be making your choice. If you are seeing this now, the way I pick my tarot cards and the way I read for people is very much intuitively led, not just on what my answers are, but the way that I do it. And right now my intuition is calling me to make a special kind of Easter egg bonus for the end of this reading. So if you keep watching till the end, or I will make another timestamp for you, there's going to be a special little reading there which will apply to anybody who is drawn to look at it. So with that in mind, please go ahead and choose your pile. See you there. So welcome to pile 1. You've chosen this beautiful black and white shell, very detailed, lots of yin and yang going on here, the dark and the light. Let's see what it has to tell you about the message that you really need to know right now. So from here what we see is actually that where we have the dark of the shell, we have a lot of sunlight, a lot of brightness in your reading. Firstly, we have this wonderful summer solstice card, Radiance, and we have Whale, Breach, and we also have the beautiful Magician from the Rider-Waite tarot deck. And really, this is about the energy either that you are currently going through now or that is about to come into your life. So with the summer solstice, this is really a message to let the light of the sun in, and this can be on an emotional level and also on a very practical level. Hopefully at the time when you're reading this, you are in a place where it is, watching this I should say, you're in a place where it's sunny, or at least you can get some light into your life. And you're really being encouraged to go outside, to spend time in the nature, generally doing all the things you can do in an outdoor way and letting your inner light show. So by celebrating the sun, the sunshine, Father Light, this can fill you up, and this is something that then you can reflect out to other people. So this is a time when, if you're really making the most of this sunny energy, it's going to be reflecting back in you. People are going to be wanting to spend time with you because they just can't get enough of this beautiful radiance that they're given. And this card, in a way, actually has a similar message, in the sense that it's also asking you to get outside, to try something new, even more so than the summer solstice card. The breach that it refers to is something that whales like to do, which is kind of launching themselves out into the air. Nobody knows exactly why they do this. Is it for joy? Is it for communication? Is it for health reasons even? We're not sure. But in this context, it's really about doing something with that positive energy that you've been wanting to do but you've put off, or that it seemed outside of your comfort zone. Now's the time. And again, there is, if possible, a strong influence on the outside world. So if it's that you've wanted to take a holiday or visit a spot in nature, or maybe go to a festival of some kind, or go camping, or whatever it is, ideally outside, but if that's not possible, then just something outside of your comfort zone, something that's going to bring you the kind of joy and radiance that that we're seeing from the summer solstice. And this is the energy that you are going through, or you will be going through. So just take the time to make the most of it and really enjoy it, really push yourself, because you're really feeling like you could do anything right now. So when we take a look at the Magician card, this is such a powerful card, number 1 from the major arcana, which is the life lessons of the tarot card. It's all about potential. This is the only card in the tarot deck that has each of the 4 suits, the wands, the swords, the cups, and the pentacles in there. And as you can see, there's still this kind of sunny outdoors theme. We've got the yellow background, we've got the flowers everywhere. This is a person who can do anything they want right now. They have all the resources, everything they need. They just need to put it in action. The red of the cloak, that shows the power. It's really a wonderful card. So when we put these 3 cards together, it's just such a powerful message. Anything you've been wanting to do, now is really the time. You almost can't fail with these cards, and it's just that perfect time to push yourself out of your comfort zone, because anything you do is going to feel blessed, basically. This was really lovely cards to see here. So now that we've seen what the energy is like, let's find out a bit more about what is actually going to happen. So firstly, we get the 5 of Swords, and we also get the Ace of Swords. And swords are generally the suit of either action or thoughts. So I'll explain how that's relevant. And I wanted to find out a bit more about what the cards mean in the depth to them. So I drew some clarificatory cards, and amazingly we got the Sun again, and we got another card with a beautiful yellow sunny background, the 9 of Pentacles. And again, there's some real themes going on with this reading. We're seeing a lot about the outdoors. We're seeing a lot of sun, obviously, a lot of yellow. These cards were very much telling us get outside. Here I pointed out the roses. Now we see there are more roses. This is a very confident lady in her garden. Here again is another card relating to the sun, though in a sense this one is more inner than about going out in the sun, but again it can have that message. It's very interesting that we would have got this come up at the same time as the Sun card there. Anyway, so to specifically move on, it seems that despite all this wonderful sunny energy, there will be a bit of resistance here. This card, the Five of Swords, is really about the possibility of conflict. And whenever we see this card, it's a mixed message. It can be a choice. Do you stay and fight? Do you walk away? Is it in a conflict, or is it conflict with someone else? And this card here, the Ace of Swords, this is about fresh starts. It's about cutting away the things that no longer work for you. And again, there's a sense of being blessed. These little sparks of fire here, it's kind of like magic, you know. Traditionally speaking, it represented the Holy Spirit. But no matter what your religion, you can see this as a kind of divine inspiration. And notice again that we have these kind of pieces of seaweed. It seems like the sword has actually been pulled up from underneath the ground. It's like underneath the sea, rather. It's something that's been waiting to come up and emerges triumphant as we see the crown. So what does this mean? Well, from my perspective, I think that there is going to be quite possibly somebody who doesn't want you to be giving off all of this joy, experiencing new things. Maybe it's because it makes them feel unsafe. A lot about the whale card is that you've built up something that it's familiar, it feels safe, you think that it's safe, but it's not really living up to your true potential. And maybe that served you very well in the past, that's fine, but now it's really time to push yourself and enjoy this sunny energy, enjoy this scope of full potential. And it does seem that for whatever reason, there's going to be someone in your life that is not on board with this sunny energy. Maybe it's just somebody that's worried about you, they think that you need to be focusing on other things, or maybe it's somebody a little bit negative, or even someone that you don't need in your life any longer. And you are really, because we see it in line with the Ace of Swords, the new start, as I said, the cutting away of the things that you don't need. It really is a sign that it's time to let those people go. You can still have them in your life, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to tell people to leave forever, but it is a sign that you really need to be focusing on you and manifesting this happy energy. And if that makes some people angry, so be it, because you are this child of the sun right now, you know, joyful, happy. You don't need somebody pulling you down or anything like that. You really need to be focusing on yourself. And again, that's reflected in this card. We see this lady, she's alone in this garden, but not fully alone, because she has a bird there on her arm, which actually is a bird of prey. So it's showing that the bird it's free, it's nature, but at the same time she has a control over it. This is often a card about solitariness, not being alone, but standing in your own power. She has worked hard to get where she is, to cultivate this beautiful garden, to have the respect of this falcon who will fly off and return. It might have taken a long time. You know, we see, I don't know if the camera can see this, but there's a tiny little snail in the bottom there. And this shows that it didn't all happen overnight, her getting where she is today, but she's done it and she's standing strong in her power. And whenever you see red in the tarot, at least in the Rider-Waite deck, which is what I tend to use, it is a symbol of power. So you'll notice how here we have the red cloak of the child in the Sun card, and here we have the red cloak of the magician. So it's really not the time to let people get in your way. Be kind, be polite, but be firm. And that's what the cards are advising you for. And when you're standing in your garden, it's going to have been worth it. You know, this is such an amazing chance for you. Please don't let anyone hold you back. So that's what's really going to happen. I did just draw 2 more cards to get a little bit of advice from spirit or your higher self or nature or the universe, whatever it is that speaks to you. It gives you a connection to something deeper. And again, there's an echo of what I've been saying here, really. One thing that I did want to mention with these cards, if it's not a person in your life who's holding you back, it could be, given that swords are about thoughts, it could be thoughts of your own. And this relates back to the whale, where if you're really feeling very safe where you are currently, it's my dog's barking. I do live on a jungle island in the rainy season with only my dogs at the moment, mainly to keep me company, so we are going to hear them bark sometimes. It might also start raining. So apologies for that. If it's not a person in your life that seems to be holding you back, then this represents your own thoughts. Maybe there's a feeling of guilt or a feeling of, no, I'm safe, I don't want to do these things. And you're really being asked to challenge that, to make a new start, to let go of those things that just don't work for you anymore. So moving on to the Page of Cups as your advice. This could well be a person entering your life, or it could be someone that you already know. Think of that friend who is always surprising you with something, always encouraging you to do something new or giving you a new perspective on things. This is what this card represents. It might be a person, and if you have a person like that in your life, this is really the time to spend time with them and go with them on the adventure. Have a lot of fun, play act, whatever it is, this is the time to do it. And this personal influence will bring unexpected things in your life. This is the only card where we see a fish is actually jumping out of the cup. The cups are the suit of emotions, fulfillment, happiness, love, playfulness, creativity, and so it is really about being surprised. When I look at this card today, it strikes me that the page is standing in a kind of a teapot shaped way. I don't know if it was just me or any of you guys as a child sang the song about I'm a little teapot, short and stout. And this, if you know that song or if you don't, here's my handle, here's my spout. This is the first time I've ever noticed this in more than 20 years of reading the cards. But I'm thinking the message here, and this might be a bit of an English thing to say, I am from the UK, it's about trying new things even if you don't know if it's your cup of tea. Maybe your friend suggests something and you think, no, that's not a bit of me, I don't want that. But this card is saying, give it a try. Maybe you don't think you like fish in your tea, but maybe when you try it, it turns out to be delicious. That's obviously a metaphor, though who knows what kind of weird things come into fashion now. But either way, this is really about, once you've tried these new things, really experimenting. Don't close your mind off to anything new. Just let it all happen. Take it in. Doesn't have to be forever. Just be playful. Access that inner child. Just go for it, essentially, and don't worry if it looks odd to other people. Really just let go and have fun. And then This is from the beautiful Shadowscapes Tarot. I'm gonna bring this a little bit closer to the camera. Hopefully you can see it's such beautiful and detailed artwork. Really gorgeous. And Judgment, this is number 20 in the Major Arcana. This is such a powerful card. This is the card of those aha moments when things really fit into place, things that you really care about or matter for your life. It's kind of like key points in your life or key realizations that are going to shape your future. That's what this card refers to. So in the context of advice, I think what it's saying is that overall, you need to make the most of getting out into the sunshine, trying new things, making the most of this power, this ability to achieve and do the desires you've had, not letting people get in the way of that, being ready to make a new start, being ready to let go of people who don't fit into that, who aren't ready to let you progress to the next stage. And if you need to be alone a bit more for a while, that's okay. You're not really alone, you're just standing strong in your solitude. And I think it's really about letting yourself be surprised. There might be new aspects of yourself that you just really didn't know were relevant. And at the end of this process, this is when you're going to be able to really use the Judgment card. All these different, here we see there are many different ghostly selves kind of lifting up to the beautiful woman. She has a star on her cheek. She's playing this celestial music. And the message really here is that by doing all of this process, by going outside your comfort zone, letting go of negative people or negative thoughts, starting afresh, trying new things, you're really going to have a new sense of what is important to you. And this could lead to all kinds of inspirations as to what you want to do with your life, who you want to have in your life, what kind of hobbies you want to do, maybe what kind of job you want to do, some kind of study. This is what will come out. So the focus is having fun, trying new things, letting go of thought patterns or people that will hold you back so that you can fully immerse yourself into it, being really open even if it doesn't seem like it's going to be your cup of tea, and then letting all of that knowledge sink in so you can make really profound choices about what is good for you, what is the next stage of your life going to be about. Hope you've enjoyed that reading. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe below so I can keep offering more of these videos. And also I would really love it if you could comment down below and let me know if you picked this pile and if it resonated for you, any thoughts you had about it. I'd be really grateful for your feedback. This is the first video I'm doing ever on YouTube, so really hoping to hear from you guys as well. Okay, sending you much love. So welcome to pile 2. You've chosen this beautiful spiraled shell. You can see with its gorgeous colours spiraling round in an infinite pattern. Let's put that there. So, for the energy that you're going to be either already experiencing or about to step into, it's really a very dreamy energy. This period for you is going to be much more about thinking, dreaming, planning than it is about doing. But it's extremely important because this is really when you're going to be planting the seeds for what you want to grow later. And this is really a gorgeous card, so I'll see if I can bring it a little bit closer to the camera. Yeah, there we go. Dreamtime actually refers to the ancient Aborigine process of even today, I guess, in their cosmology, this dream time was the time before creation, before there was time, of which everything is born. And here we see an indigenous figure dreaming all of creation out from his mind, from his didgeridoo, all the animals, all the beautiful things. And this wonderful, beautiful, creative time is really the energy that you are either in or about to be stepping in. And this card really just emphasizes that the things that you're thinking about now, the things that you're focusing on, is what is later going to bear fruit. You can see pentacles are the material manifestation of things. So this is really about making sure that what the path you're on, you're going to get the flowers that you want, or the things growing that you want later on, and making those things into a reality. But for now, it's about creation. And a lot of this can be done through going inwards, taking deep breaths, listening to the sounds around you, the sights, the smells, seeing if anything comes up, anything of interest, any images, anything to spark off something that will later lead the way for you. But as we will see from the other cards, there's also other ways that you can access this dream time and bring forward. It does seem like it's going to be a time with a lot of thoughts going on and a lot of going inwards, because when I drew some cards to find out what was going to happen, we get these 2 swords cards. And swords can be the suit of action, or they can be the suit of thoughts. And really, this 2 of swords here, as you may see, we have somebody who is blindfolded and sitting in the dark with their eyes crossed. So this is not somebody who's making decisions. This isn't a time for decisions. This is a time for really going inwards, as the Dreamtime card did discuss. Taking the time to find out what is in your heart. What does your body have to tell you? And if there's anyone trying to push you into taking action or making decisions now, you can just say to them, thanks, I appreciate your advice or your concern, but I really just have to spend a little bit of time with myself and figuring things out. And it won't be all kind of hippy-dippy, shall I say? Because here we have the King of Swords. I mean, no offense to hippies, by the way. Here we have the King of Swords, and he's really all about logic, intellect, mind over matter at times. So you're being asked to do everything. I mean, I think your logical side will be in action quite a lot, and I think it will be good to have a balance. You definitely want to bring your logical side into play. You want to be dreaming, as this card has said, but you also want to make sure that your dreams are practical, they are achievable. I mean, it's always good to dream big and figure out the details later, but at the same time, it has to make sense with the logic of your life. So I think this is what you're going to be thinking about. But having said that, this process, you will be focusing on your future. This is a card that it's all about potentials. This is a traveller. He might also be the owner of an empire as well, because you probably can't see from there, I don't know, but there are little ships there. But this is a traveller's cloak. It's a cloak of power, of potential. He's got his little arrows there for his journey. He's got a kind of a headband that shows he's blessed. The wands is very much the spark that gets you going, and we've moved quite nicely from 2 to 3. But this is a clarificatory card. It's a hard word to say. So this, while you're, lost or closed off in thought here, you're dreaming about your future here, the potential, the possibilities, which is very similar to what we found about the energy for this time. But your logical side is also there kicking in, and I think that's really going to help you look inside at the aspects of yourself that you may or may not have acknowledged previously. As the Hermit, he's all about inner exploration, which has basically been a theme of all of this. But as a major arcana card, there's a lot of wisdom there. So you're really going to be using your mind and using a bit of silence, a bit of quiet time to plan for the future, to have visions, but also to go inside yourself. Like, what is it that you really want? What is it that matters to you? What do you want to dream in the dream time and create and plant in the seeds? This is what you're going to be looking at, and most likely you're going to be discovering things about yourself that were not necessarily clear before. This light is shines a light within to yourself, not just the way forward, although that is also an important part of the Hermit as well. So it's really going to be a time of self-discovery, but also of what that means for your future. It's not just navel gazing or anything like that. It's understanding yourself, understanding your options, and understanding what that means for you. Where are you going to really take that? Now, I did draw some cards of advice for you, and although I only intended to draw one, the cards, or my instinct, got me to draw two cards instead, from the Rider-Waite Tarot deck and another one from the Shadowscapes deck. So here we have some really powerful cards, more major arcana cards, in fact 3 of them. So this is kind of the message, the advice from spirit or from your higher self, however you prefer to think about that which connects you more deeply to the world and to yourself indeed. So this is a time, just by seeing 3 major arcana cards as advice, this is a time to really progress to a new stage in your life, like on a huge level. The psychoanalyst Jung, who was a big fan of using the tarot, he saw the major arcana cards as representing archetypes, this kind of ideas in human thought and life that are key stages of our development, lessons that we need to progress through to become a fully whole, empowered person. So to see 3 cards coming from advice from spirit, this is massive, really. So it's no wonder that you're going through this time of thinking, of creation, of dreaming, of planning, both the logical side and the more esoteric side, because you're really being asked, once you've done that, to kind of step up, glow up, whichever way you want to think about it. And there's different things to take into consideration here. So when we look at the Empress, this is really about getting in touch with the feminine side, your sensual side. It might also be connecting with somebody like this in your life. I think although a lot of this is going to be an inner journey and something that you need to do for yourself, if you're feeling stuck along the way, then it could well be an idea to connect with a wise woman in your life, or someone with a strong female energy. And if that doesn't relate, then what I would say this card is telling you is, whilst the Dreamtime card was asking you to look within yourself and take a deep breath, see what's coming up, the Empress card, she's asking you to indulge the feminine side of yourself. So, or the sensuality, abundance. She's asking you to go outside, to spend time in the nature, to do things like make a luxurious bath for yourself, or surround yourself with really comfortable fabrics. Really think, and again, it's this thing about growth. You know, the Empress, she's also the archetypal mother figure, and we see that she's covered in fruit. Could be a good time to eat some fruit, to really study that, especially if when you tried to enhance or to make the most of this dreamtime creation energy. If you didn't find so much by going inwards, though I think that you will, I think there's also a lot to be gained by going outside, by looking at what nature has to teach us, to really taking our time to admire all the abundance of nature. And it's kind of like understanding what your potential is. If here we're thinking about what seeds do we want to sow, the Empress shows us what it means to grow a seed, to become, to embody that growth principle and the power that really has, and the beauty that can lead to your life. And in terms of practical things, as well as going outside, maybe running your hand through sheaves of corn, if you would that be comfortable? Or, you know, through the grass, or also there's a little kind of gravity defying waterfall situation going on there. This will be a good break as well from all this thinking that the swords showed you, to just go and immerse yourself in the nature, and maybe have a bath with some scented candles. Perhaps put some beautiful essential oils in there as well. Really evoke your senses, really see yourself as the person who is capable of growing your hopes and your dreams into something fully mature, like the powerful Empress. Now, at the same time, with such huge changes, there's also going to be difficulties as well. Now, people who are familiar with the tarot, and even those who are not, may fear this card, even though this card is actually a very powerful card to see. It's something very important in the tarot deck. But if you are worried about this card, for starters, this is as an advice card. It's not what's going to happen. But at the same time, as advice, it's asking you to bring the energy into your life. And as you can see from the Tower card, a lot of it is to do with destruction. I mean, the tower is burning down, the throne has come off, the people are falling out. It looks very bleak. But something that I like to remind people about the Tower card is that there's no door on this card. There's only very high up windows. So what the Tower can represent is actually being trapped. It may feel like safety and security, or it might not. It might already feel like a prison. And whichever it feels like to you, through all of this self-reflection, this logic, this looking inwards, you're being asked to understand, what is the prison? What are the things that traps you? There isn't any growth going on in this tower of cement or rock or whatever it's made of. There's no greenery here. These ideas, nothing can be born here. Nothing can gestate. So what does this represent in your life? Is it a way of going on that has prevented you? Perhaps this is the time to let go of a job or a relationship that you don't need. It might be the time to move, or anything in your life which has kept you stuck in the place that you are, and which is going to stop you from taking all these thoughts and these dreams and this planning. It's time to let go of that. You know, there could also be a desire to travel, for instance, from all of these cards. These two cards here can represent travel, journeys, whether they're inner or outer depends on you. But this is the kind of thing I left my home to travel the world, and many people tell me, wow, you're so lucky. And yes, I would agree that I am. I'm very grateful, but it didn't come without sacrifices. Just like everything good that we ever want to do, you have to put some things aside, let go of some things. In my case, let go of the stability of home, of your friends, of your family, and go out into the world. And sometimes things like that, they shock you. You don't always expect what's going to be revealed when you do, and suddenly it's like, oh wow, I'm having the time of my life, being the empress, experiencing all this great stuff, but my foundations have been shaken. What I thought I knew wasn't true, or it doesn't apply to me anymore. And so, as advice, you're being asked to really welcome this into your life. Don't shy away from it. Bring it closer. This is the time to really examine anything that you've been hiding from before. And you've got the strength to do it, because you've got, on the one hand, the power to dream of anything that you kind of want and to plant those seeds, and at the same time you've got the ability to focus, and you've got the logic in which to do it. So you really have everything. And so to potentiate that, you've got to get in touch with your body, get in touch with nature, get in touch with the feminine side of yourself. Be prepared to face painful things if necessary, and to just throw them away. It won't just be as simple as, right, I let go of it, but it doesn't need to be ridiculously difficult either. And the final clue to how to do all this is found in this beautiful Hierophant card. Not sure how much detail you'll be able to see, but again we see another figure who is holding a stick of light, a staff, just as we saw in the Hermit card. And there are symbols of different wisdom, the sun, the moon. We've got creatures there. This is actually a tree, which is a person. I mean, he has a face, or she perhaps. And this can be the card of ritual, of ceremony. And so if this process is seeming too difficult, or even if not, you're being asked to bring ritual, bring ceremony into your life. So that could look like more than one thing, but looking at these three cards, I would say that this could be a time for you to totally change maybe what your living space looks like. You could, if that's possible. If not, just clear a space for, say, an altar perhaps. Go outside into the nature, find the things that really resonate with you, and bring it inside, bring it home, and lay it out. You might want to change this every few days and spend some time when you're in this dream time phase, looking, just as the Hierophant here is looking at the various creatures that he or she holds. You might really want to pick up those items and focus on them. Perhaps say a little mantra or a prayer. Take time to meditate. Light a candle. I would say if you can get some fragrances, as I mentioned before, some kind of essential oils, you could anoint yourself. Find some kind of ritual that you can do regularly to really make this a reality. How do we take thoughts and dreams into reality? Well, rituals is one way. We have to build habits step by step, and rituals can really mark the passing from one time in your life to another, and they can bring a lot of depth, and they can help you to focus and bring clarity. So as you're dealing with all that you have to let go, you're replacing it with something new, something more healthy. And even the Hierophant can often refer to a kind of a group spirituality. So if there's, and spirituality, it doesn't have to be anything religious. It can be, if that's something that it speaks to you about, and there's some kind of group or organization or culture that you want to be a part of. This is a really good time, or that you have been a part of and you want to go back to. This is a really good time to do it, and you may well find elders there, the Empress, the Hierophant, who are going to help guide you through this creation process and really help focus you. Or otherwise, it might just be doing things with like-minded people, but with an air of the sacred. And again, the sacred is really, in this context, when I refer to it, or the spiritual, it can be whatever makes sense to you, but it is whatever connects you to something greater than yourself. So nature is a great example of that. For some people, music might be the thing, art could be the thing, a religious practice could be the thing, a ceremony could be the thing. There are many ways to do that, but bring something of that into your life to help turn this dream into a reality, to make sure that the dreams from your mind really become seeds that are planted and that will fruit into something. So I really hope that reading has been helpful for you, and if you enjoyed it, please do leave a like and subscribe to my channel. This is the first video that I've ever done, so your support will be really helpful for me to continue doing more if you enjoy it. And what I'd also really love, if you have the time, is to just leave a message down below in the comments and let me know, what pile did you choose and did it resonate with you? What did you think? What does it mean for you? That would be really great. Okay, sending you much love and light. Thanks so much for watching. So welcome to pile 3. You've chosen this very beautiful shell, which kind of has the feeling of a flower bud, something opening up. It's beautiful white colour, very unusual. It's from the beach just nearby to where I'm currently staying, as are all of the shells that you've seen today. So the energy for the moment that you're either in or about to go through is quite a solemn energy. It's a meaningful time, something that's been coming for a long time. It's a lot to do about strength, as you can see, and of course this isn't about world's strongest man kind of strength. Instead, it is about inner strength, and with inner strength comes vulnerability. As you can see, nobody is forcing anybody to do anything in this card. Instead, what we see is that the lion is being vulnerable. He's allowing the maiden to look inside his mouth, and the maiden is being vulnerable. She's got a lion in her hands, which is not something that we would do every day. And so there's vulnerability, there's trust, especially trust in oneself, in one's own capabilities. The figure of 8 there is a very powerful one. It's the sign of infinity. So it's really about coming back to this innate inner strength that you do possess, but that you may have lost touch with, or you may have lost faith in having before. And the ceremony card here is something that I will return to, but it's really, in a way, a guide for how you can navigate this energy. It's about bringing forth the different things that make you you, and that make your environment and your life you, and what you still want in there, and really crystallizing it into the way that you want things to be. The other cards will explain more about this, and I'll give you an example of how you can use the power of ceremony to help the invocation of this strength that you want to see, that you will see. And of course, when we're talking about inner strength that we've lost touch with, it does make sense that we're going to see that there's been something that comes before this. So what is happening at the moment, it seems, or is about to happen, I think it's already been happening, but it's continuing, but now we have a chance to bring the cycle to an end, is a lot of worrying. This is the card of somebody who isn't sleeping well at night. They've got a lot on their mind. The good thing about this card, although it might look kind of scary, is that not everything that we worry about is the truth or needs to be the truth forever. And this card here shows us a bit more about what you might be worrying about. There's a sense of trying to balance things. Maybe it's a push and pull between your work life and your home life, or your love life and your work life. It's two things that are really important to your security and well-being. But it's this kind of dance, this interplay between the two. And maybe it has not been that easy. And it's interesting that we see this figure of 8 pattern here, this infinity sign here, and that echoes the infinity sign that we've seen there. Now, I drew a couple more cards to find out a little bit more about what exactly is or will be worrying you and what exactly you're trying to juggle. And here we see that it's really about issues of either money or worrying about money, or could be possessiveness. That might be you feeling possessive and not sure if you can trust someone, that you need to keep them close in order to keep them safe. Maybe they're just going to run off and do their own thing the minute your back's turned. And maybe it's, on the other hand, somebody's being possessive about you. Maybe they feel they don't trust you, and or even that they don't trust themselves, but for whatever reason they have to cling on to you. It's kind of the opposite of this inner strength, which is what you're going to be able to cultivate this month. And again, when we see what is it exactly that is trying to be balanced here, well, we get the Devil card, which shows being trapped. It indicates to me that there's a good chance that it is about a relationship or another person, somebody who makes you feel as though you have to choose between one thing and them, you know, whether it's work and them or something else that's important in your life. And this is really what's worrying you. How can you balance all of this? You know, how are you supposed to stay strong when you have this person, you know, wanting to keep you close, or, you know, maybe you want to keep them close because, yeah, if you don't balance them successfully, they're just going to run off. So it might not be about a person as well. It could also be a job situation. It can be really anything that makes you feel trapped, that makes you feel not free. And it's interesting to note that the people in this card, they are more free than they think they are. If you have a look at the chains around their necks, they're big enough that they could just lift them up. But sometimes we just feel like there's no way out, even when really there is. And it's a matter of realizing it and acknowledging that and saying it doesn't have to be this way. Now, I did draw cards of advice separately, as I have done for the other piles. However, I did feel compelled to draw a couple of cards of advice on this particular situation, just to give you an extra little push on how to deal with these matters that are possibly weighing quite heavy on your mind right now. So in terms of the worrying and the either of someone keeping someone close, or, you know, financial worries or whatever, we see the Chariot. So the Chariot is here. The Chariot is a card of success, especially in the material world. So Pentacles, they tend to either represent wealth and like tangible items, but they can also be about a sense of, or home life, but they can also be about a sense of security as well. And but whatever they represent, they're really in my mind, they're the fourth of the suits. We have the wands, which are the spark of energy. They bring things into life. Then we have the swords, which are the thoughts, which are the actions. Then we have the cups, which is love, creation, fulfillment. And then we have the pentacles, which is really, it's got all of the suits inside of it. It's all of those concepts and everything brought into something tangible, something that we really possess, that is really something we can touch or taste or feel. That's maybe not always the case, because I don't know if we can touch or taste a sense of security, but hopefully you get the idea. And when we see the advice here, well, how can I stop worrying about juggling these two things? This is really the card of going your own way, of knowing that what you want is what's best for you. And if there's been other people or other things that have been trying to draw your focus away, it's time to leave. Whatever it is, you kind of need to put you first, your needs, your thoughts. You don't necessarily need to communicate so much with that person. Obviously, it depends on the situation, but this is really about going your own way. As you can see, the character here, he's kind of sneaking off into the distance. Well, he will be. There are people there actually back in the distance there, and yeah, it's okay. You can maybe leave some stuff behind. There's 2 swords that are getting left behind, but you're taking what's really important into your own hands. So then I drew some cards to show you what spirit advises. And when I say spirit, you can also think about nature, or you can think about the universe, or whatever it is that makes sense to you, whatever you kind of connect to as something that is bigger than yourself. And here we see a really clear message again. It's asking you to focus on the things that make you feel secure. So if there's a choice between love, cups, and between material things, again, everything, you need to consult your own intuition, but it's really asking you to consider, make the choice that brings you security. That's what you need to do. It can also be this card telling us to go home or spend time in the home or with loved ones. We see here animals. There's a little castle in the background there. There's another castle there. There's village life going on. There's a child there. This is, in one way, it can be about spending time with the family, but if that isn't appropriate, then it's really going back into yourself, into what makes you feel secure, what is your life rooted on. And this card, it's about recognizing that something in your life, it brought you love, it brought you joy. It could be a situation, it could be a person, but there was something missing. We see here the way the cups are laid out, and there's a gap there, and these cups lead to 8. So isn't even the journeyer who we see with the red cloak, and the red cloak here shows strength. You know, again, there's this sense of, like that we had before, of, I mean, this one's more sneaking away, and this one is leaving with purpose, but there's a sense of not making a drama about it, leaving in the night time, but not in a way like you're doing anything wrong, not at all, in the sense that you're doing what is definitely right. There is a hole there is something missing in this area of fulfillment or love or whatever it was, this connection, and it's time to go. You need to find that missing cup, because when you do, that's when you're going to be able to step away from the worries that we see here, the endless dance of juggling between things, and to really move into this strength that we see here, this inner strength that, yes, there's vulnerability, but there's also power, there's beauty. And so that's what you're being asked to do, really. And the final card here is the Page of Swords from the beautiful Shadowscapes deck. And what we see on this card is a warrior who she has risen above what she needs to rise above from. So underneath we see black swans, and black swans in the meanings of today, they can often be about a kind of a unexpected event or a loss or some kind of big thing that only really makes sense when we look back at it, when we're prepared to walk away and leave. It's not all negative. I mean, the black swan holds a flower here, and I think that it's important to remember that whatever choices you've made, however you got here, there was a reason that you did it. At the time, you were being given something that was a gift, but it became not so fulfilling after a while, probably because this gift somehow put you in this impossible position of having to choose between things that you should have never really had to choose between. But the good news is that the Page of Swords is quite a righteous card in the sense of standing up for your truth. Swords, again, generally about being communication, action. And I don't know if you can see it here. Let's see if I can bring it a little bit closer. But the page here, she's kind of nurturing a baby swan, a cygnet, on her chest. So there's a sense of rebirth, that by staying strong, by saying what needs to be said, but not more than that, that's going to help you to move on, to really walk into this feeling of strength. So yeah, overall I would say that it starts off with these feelings of worry, this feeling of balance, or really imbalance in a way, this push, this pull, a sense of needing to cling on to stuff, or someone clinging on to you, of being trapped, and just letting it go, going back to what's important. And something that might be very useful here, as well as spending time with people that you love, that you feel comfortable with, ideally family and pets, but might also be friends, whoever it is that you call family. When we see pentacles in a situation like this, I would highly recommend a kind of grounding meditation. Maybe grounding and centering as well, because you don't want to be so grounded that you can't walk away. So what I would imagine is some kind of meditation where you stand on the earth and you let your feet feel as if roots are growing down from them, but at the same time you stretch your hands up to the sky and you feel that you have branches growing towards the sun, and really let both your feet and your arms, the energy from them, imagine them really expanding, growing, either getting deeper into Mother Earth, reassuring, comforting, and yet at the same time stretching up into the sky, connecting with the heavens. This is the number 10 card, which is the final number of the minor arcana cards. So there's a sense of completion. There's a sense of being a fully grown tree, let's say. So I really want you to go outside if you can, do this meditation, spend some time feeling what it's like to be an ancient tree, the concerns of humans, this up and down thing, the worries that we experience. Try and shift your consciousness into being a tree that's maybe hundreds of years old, seeing the seasons pass through you, leaves withering, dying, growing again, and kind of shift your perspective, maybe imagining the storms, the rains, the birds that will sit on you, and everything that will just be a flash in the pan to a being that's hundreds of years old. And then when you finish your meditation, think of the power of the roots, think of the power of the leaves, and try to really feel that energy coming back up through you from both your hands and your feet, and coming until it reaches the middle of you, and really feeling centered in your own power, really becoming strength, as we see in this card, knowing that you are acting by your righteous truth in doing this, and anything that you have to walk away, maybe others will feel sad about that, maybe even you know, it's a little bit hard to walk away from things, but I think that when you do it, you're gonna know it's right. You know, it's that feeling of, yeah, okay, this is something I have to do, this is something I have to let go of, this emotional situation is not working for me anymore. I have to focus on my well-being, my security, my sense of groundedness, perhaps focus on my family or my career. I think it's going to make a lot of sense to you, and I think that really you're going to step into this strength that we see. You're going to exchange this eternal balancing act for this. Still is a balancing act, because there's the give and take between the lion and the woman, but you know, we will feel at times stronger, we will feel at times weaker, but that's normal, accepting the ever-changing nature of things. And I would say that this card then finally really comes into play, because I think that this energy shift is so powerful that you really do have to mark it with some kind of ceremony. And the best way to do this, if you remember what I said about pentacles being kind of the final suit, they kind of represent each of the elements, so fire, air, water, earth and ether, which can mean spirit or the thing that connects us or something deeper. So that's really going to be reflected in the way that you conduct this ceremony, this invocation, this call of, you can choose what you really want to call in at this time. Given the cards that we've seen, making a focus on strength certainly makes sense, and it might be the strength, the courage to do the thing that you need so that you don't have to be pushed and pulled by these worries, these competing things, but you'll know exactly what it is that you're trying to bring into your life. And so with what I said about the pentacles, get something that represents each of the elements. So you can do whatever you like, but one good example for fire would of course be a candle, and another one for air could be an incense stick, and it could also be a wind chime. It could be anything you want, but just two things that make sense. For earth, again, you can choose whatever you like, but you might want to choose a crystal, you might want to choose a stone. And for water, perhaps you'll choose to have a bowl of water with you. If you like, you can even bless that water by taking some salt, ideally sea salt or Himalayan salt. Doesn't really matter, but the more kind of powerful forms of salt than just normal table salt, but any salt will do. You don't even have to do this, but you can just kind of bless the salt, bless the water by sprinkling in the salt and moving your hands 3 times counterclockwise, or widdershins as the witches would say, and just say a little blessing over that water. Water is a very magical substance, and there's been various experiments which have shown that we do have the ability to affect the chemical structure of water. So that's just something you can look into. There's a Japanese doctor who did beautiful experiments on that. Unfortunately, I can't quite remember his name at this moment, but if you Google his name, you would see that people thought different things at water, and then they froze the water crystals and in a special way, and depending on whether people think positive thoughts or negative thoughts, it changes the shapes of the crystals. In fact, there are no beautiful crystals forming when horrible things are thought to the water. It's just chaos. But peace, it's a very peaceful looking crystal. I'll leave it for you. I will share the name and I'll leave that for you to look into if it's something you're interested in. Anyway, to get back to the ceremony, gather the 4 things of the elements and have that around you. And of course, have your intention in mind. Any ceremony, the intention is of the highest importance. And then also be sure to bring in some things from your own personal life. So if you're into crystals, then you have some crystals, then that will already be a great thing to have. You might want to put a piece of jewelry. It might be an ornament that you have. It really could be anything that means something to you, your own sacred objects. It's really up to you what it is, but bring those into the ceremony, bless them, say, if you don't know what words to say, just close your eyes, focus. It might be a good time to follow the advice that I gave here about the meditation as well. That could be a really great way to include that as part of your ceremony. And yeah, really the point that I wanted to make there, that I think I did, was that when you're drawing all this energy from both your roots and your leaves, feel it settle in your center, in your solar plexus chakra, which is around about your belly button or a little bit above, it depends. But wherever feels right to you, bring that power there, and just really invocation, bring in what you want, you know, the strength to do what you need to do, or if you want to make changes in your life, whatever it is, bring it in. And I promise you that this is going to be a very meaningful ceremony for you. It's really going to make this time of your life feel very significant to you, like a deep shift is occurring. This is something that you might think about in the years to come, even as a kind of a turning point in your life, sort of from difficulties into a lighter period. So I really do encourage you to do that. I think the benefits will be so wonderful and beautiful. So even though this might be a little bit of a tough time for you initially, please don't worry. Just try to follow your own intuition and the advice that I've laid out here, and you are going to find that this is actually the beginning of something very beautiful and very strong for you. So I really hope that helped. If that felt like it made sense to you or you enjoyed it, please do give me a like and maybe subscribe onto my channel would be great. I've been reading the tarot for many years now, but this is the first video I've ever made, so your support here will really help and encourage me to make new videos. And if you have the time, what I would really love is if you could comment down in the comment section below and let me know that you chose this pile. Let me know what your thoughts were, any feedback. I'd really love to hear from you, and just wishing you a lot of love and light on this journey. You can do it. I have the faith in you. You have the faith in you as well, and it's going to be a really powerful month for you. Thanks so much for listening. Bye bye. Okay, so if you're still watching this video, that means, oh wow, okay, cards already jumped out. If you're still watching, then it means that you've been drawn to have a look at my secret reading. This isn't something I planned to do, but as I said, I like to be very intuitive about the way that I draw the cards. And I just felt the urge to do this as I was closing. So yeah, this is just a secret message for anybody that felt the urge to click onto this last bit or stay watching or whatever. Okay. Go. And I'm going to take a card from the Shadowscapes deck. Okay, there's a little fly that came to visit us. when you live in the jungle, you do have to respect flies. I'm just going to take a minute now to focus. Okay. Let's see what the cards have for us. Oh, wow. Okay. Huh. Okay. That's interesting, because I was just, when I was thinking about whether or not to, well, I had this idea, and then I paused the camera and I just thought, shall I do this? What deck shall I use? And I normally always read for my clients with, and my friends for that matter, with the Rider-Waite deck. It looks quite basic, it's great for beginners, but it's actually super deep as well, and it has a range of meanings that that you can keep learning for years. I'm still learning new things about it 27 years later. But I do love this deck, it's very beautiful, and I was just looking through and thinking, I wonder what card would come up, and you know, what would I say about it, given that in a daily sense I do tend to use the Rider-Waite more often. And I was actually looking at this card. I didn't really think through what I was going to say, so we'll just see what comes out. I'll read very intuitively, as I normally do. So firstly, the card that came up was Gaia, nurturing, and this is really a card about the nature loving you. And I had a kind of intense meditative experience with this card, where I was out in the nature and I thought, does the nature love me? I mean, you know, really? But in that moment, I was full there loving the nature. It was beautiful. I was by the sea. Me and a friend, we'd driven there, so there was no one else around. We were living in a van, and I was really connecting to the nature. And I thought, you know, even if I'm not sure whether nature is like a personified force, I love the nature. And in that moment, I realized that when you love something, it's the same feeling as it loving you. Now, that might not sound accurate. If you've been in love with someone and they don't love you back, then you might question that piece of wisdom. But actually, even in romantic love, you can make use of this feeling. Because what you can do, and this is something I did at the time, because it was actually somebody that I was having a romantic relationship that I was there with, and the insight that this card and that moment gave me in the meditation was that if I'm giving out a kind of a pure love, not a needing love, not something that's pulling, but something that's kind of giving, then it's the same feeling as being loved. And if you've ever done a loving kindness meditation from the Buddhist tradition, or metta loving kindness, it's called METTA, there are some where you start by loving yourself, you grow a bubble around yourself, and you expand that further and further into the air around you. And then you include it to think about people in the nearby vicinity, and that bubble of love is including them. Then you might think about people in your town or in your village. You might think about people in your country, and then eventually you'll think about the whole world, and you surround it. And of course you think about all the animals, the nature, everything like that. And why I bring this up is that you can use this trick. Not trick, I mean it's a really beautiful meditation that it leaves you feeling very nurtured. So I could stop the video right here and just leave it at that, and that would already be something good for you to know about. But I'm going to go a little bit further and tell you, and apologies if you see this fly shining around, but as a part of nature, I'm going to love that fly and you can love it with me if you like. What you can do to apply this to yourself on a personal level in a loving relationship, especially this is like a new relationship when you're feeling perhaps really infatuated with someone, and you know, hopefully you think that they're feeling it back, but you don't know. You want to bring them closer, but how to do that? Well, take all those feelings that you're kind of putting out on that person, that desire, that wish, that thought that they're really amazing, or whatever it is that we often tend to think when we're really enamored with someone, and point that at yourself. Point that inwards. Don't give a reason like, oh, I'm great because of this or that, because that brings doubts, and yeah, it's really no need for that. Instead, just love yourself for being a part of nature, for being a part of Gaia. You are a living thing. We are all connected, all living things. We're all made of stardust, even from a scientific point of view. We're all made from energy. And so you deserve to be loved, simply on that, just as the way that you can love the nature for all its wildness. And, you know, it's not always nice, the nature, but we can love it all the same. But just unconditionally love yourself, and do that by pointing those feelings. Don't question it, don't ask why, just point it inwards, and then let that expand out of you like a bubble. And then if you've managed to do that, it should be a really different kind of feeling. And what you can think to yourself is, okay, I'm going to expand this love to a force field around me, and if somebody wants to come into it, that's great. And if they don't, that's okay. I accept that, because I know that I have love within me, and whether they come into the sphere or not, it doesn't really change the fact that I am loving, and therefore I am loved. And you know, the nature is loving you. You are loving nature because you are a part of nature. So when you've done that, at least for me, something I've experienced is, because you've got this much more secure kind of love, it's so attractive, and it's much more attractive than that needing, pulling kind of love. And what I've noticed when I've done this with a partner is that they've tended to draw closer to me, just as I've done that visualization myself. So that's some wisdom that I would sort of like to offer you from that card. And all I'll just say about this card is, for now anyway, is that it's really just highlighting the power of the technique that I've just shared with you, and the electricity that can really flow. And I mean, this doesn't all have to be about romantic relationships either. As I said, by any means, it's all love comes from this, and having a sense of unconditional love to yourself is really going to bring you so much power that whatever you want to do, it's going to be beneficial, it's going to be great. And finally, the Four of Cups here. Let's see how close I can get on the camera, because it's such detailed, gentle drawings here. So the Four of Cups is also about love. Well, more and more nature is accumulating as this video goes on. Yay for the tropics. Welcome, oh insect friends, one of which is crawling up my leg as we speak. The Four of Cups is an interesting card. It's really about thinking about what you do want. In the Rider-Waite deck, or Rider-Waite-Smith as I should say, you see a man who's being offered 4 cups, but he's really not sure of what he wants. And it's kind of the same message. Sometimes we might try so hard to get love, or to get something that we think is going to fulfill us, and then when we get it, it's not always as good as what we thought, and we're left like this maiden, kind of looking into the water, our reflection, and thinking, is this really what fills me, what fulfills me? Is this really what is for my greatest good? So I think that's where we can kind of tie the reading all together. If you can kind of, even if there's not somebody that you're into at the moment, it really doesn't matter. As I said, this Gaia card, this nurturing, this is something that you can do for yourself. And when you're really remembering to give yourself that kind of unconditional love and to kind of sit within that bubble and to offer it as a sphere around you that people can enter, but you don't need them to enter in order to feel loved, then you have a better sense of what you want. And instead of chasing and then getting what you want and realizing it wasn't that fulfilling, instead you are nurtured and you're filled with a sense of power. So that's what my impromptu reading says, and my phone, which is on silent, has managed to chime just as I get to the end of this reading, so I feel that maybe that's some kind of sign right there. But nevertheless, I would like to read to you from the book that this oracle deck is from. It's really an amazing oracle deck. I find with a lot of oracle decks that the advice is kind of a bit wishy-washy. It's a bit vague. It doesn't really mean anything. I like the idea of this when I bought it because I thought that everybody can relate to nature in their own way, but also it's just really deep. So here's what the book has to say. The power available to you, the force of life itself, is neutral. It is neither inherently good nor bad. It is how you utilize it that will determine whether it's ultimately harmful or life-giving and congruent with the will of spirit that pulses through you. What is required is awareness of your intentions, your values, and your willingness to act on them under the particular circumstances of your inquiry. Although you may see yourself as using this power for good, do not allow yourself to get caught up in the duality of good or bad in determining your decisions or actions. Through prayer or ceremony, you can tap into this spiritual force, and by paying close attention to Spirit's prompting, your choice will ultimately be revealed to you, one that is beyond your typical perspective. From there, you can continue to access this divine power that is the very force driving this universe. So, again, I think we can see another way to connect these two cards together by kind of, in fact, all three cards, by, or at least with my interpretation, by doing the inner work, by cultivating a sense of nurturing in yourself, a sense of kind of awareness about what you really want. This is going to give you a lot of power, and it's going to stop you from going down dead ends, from chasing things that don't speak to your highest good, and instead of being this kind of slightly discontented mermaid, you can be flying off into the sky with these beautiful flowers and knowing that what you have picked really makes sense to you. And finally, I'm going to also read you the book interpretation of Gaia, just so you can get a sense of what really inspired this revelation that I had, though again it might be different to what I have said because I do read intuitively, but they're just such beautiful words. I think it's worth sharing. And Earth Magic is the name of the deck, by Stephen D. Farmer. I really do highly recommend them. He's a soul healer, shamanic practitioner, ordained minister and licensed psychotherapist. Anyway, receiving can be a sacred act if your intention is to honor spirit. It is as holy and as giving when performed with a humble and open heart. This is even truer when receiving much needed nurturing, so let others give to you. It may be a stretch to do so at times because of childhood conditioning, but that habit can be overcome. Your wounds can be healed. One way to achieve this is to nurture yourself and to allow others to nurture you. Consider the actions you take that are self-nurturing. What comes to your mind when you really think about doing beneficial things for yourself? Set aside your ritualized habits and beliefs that restrict the pure art of allowing your body, heart, and soul to be nurtured. Lie on the earth and ask Gaia to rock you into her bosom as you breathe with her and relax into her loving care. Okay, so thanks for staying with me for this secret reading, semi-secret at least. If you did stay to watch it, then it is because there was a meaning that was powerful to you, and I hope that you have found it so. And again, please do leave me a like and subscribe if you like this, and feel free to share something in your comments. I will read all the comments that are left for me and be super grateful that you took the time to do that. So wishing you all the best, all the joy in your life. Take care. Love and light.